Hey guys! We recently actually received a video request, which I'm really excited about. I'm so glad that y'all are getting more involved in this. And this one has been on how to identify lamenesses. So I'm going to break it down a little bit here, and then later on I'm going to go out to the barn and take a video of my horse that is currently lame, as well as my student's horse that has a little bit of a hind end issue. But first, let me go ahead and break it down and tell y'all how you see the different lamenesses. First of all, you're going to want it to lunge the horse. I normally free lunge, and you'll see that later, because I like to have the distance as well as be able to focus on the horse rather than I don't like to have my hands overly occupied. I don't have very good hand-eye coordination. So I'd like to keep them away and be able to look at them rather than hold the rope. A lot of people, wherever you are, they'll probably make you lunge with a rope, which is perfectly fine, and go for it. And it's just me being a weirdo. I was trained to lunge with the lunge line, and I decided to start free lunging on my own. So yes, lunge with a lunge line. That also makes the circle tighter, which will make things show up bigger. It's just me that likes to free lunge. But anyway, so for the front legs, what you're going to see is head bobbing if there's a lameness within the fronts. So every time that the bad leg will hit the ground, the horse will normally jerk its head up to try and relieve pressure. And so they'll hit that foot, jerk their head up, and then they'll kind of stumble forward again. And so you'll see a sharp movement every time the bad leg hits the ground. And that's especially if it's in the lower leg. If it's in the shoulder, you might see a little bit more of like a catching movement than more of a jerk, but still always look for the head bobbing. For the hind end, it's a little bit more difficult. One of the first things you look for is if the horse is tracking up, which what tracking up is where the hind leg comes up and meets, like the hind foot meets where the front foot had left. And now not all horses naturally track up. My horse gets pretty lazy and normally doesn't unless I actually push her into tracking up. But the hind leg should be about equal with their meeting of the front legs. And that'll be a bit easier to show you in video. So it's where the front foot leaves, the hind leg should come up and cover it, go over it, or if it's behind it, both back legs should be equally under tracking. Another way to tell with the back legs is to have the horse trot away from you and to watch their hips. Their hips should move up at about the same level. If there's one that's hitching higher, that means that leg hurts and they are trying to relieve the pressure and pull it up higher. Another way is to watch the back legs, look at the joints. A really big problem area is going to be the stifle. A lot of problems happen there. So look and see if the stifle is catching at all. Let's see if there's any kind of awkward movement. And make sure to switch directions because there's going to be a worse direction. That will tell you the side of the horse that's hurting. So let's say you're lunging them to the right and you don't really see much. You don't lunge them to the left and you have a head bob, or that stifle seems to be locking. That means that that's your bad side and you need to focus there. And of course, if you ever think something's really going wrong with your horse and you just can't figure it out, call a vet. Or if you can't call a vet, which I understand that, have someone who's more experienced than you come and look. They can give you some tips, some tricks, and see what they can't recommend for you and your horse. Also, try and use all of your senses, which this sounds a bit weird, but a lot of really big experts will start listening to the beats of the horse's feet. And there will be one that will sound off. So if you have a 1, 2, 3, 4 beat that's just very consistent, and all of a sudden one of those beats is kind of weird and off, there's a problem in that foot or in that leg. Also, whenever you pick the feet, sometimes there's issues in there and you can smell the problems. Like thrush will have a very strong smell. Infections will have a smell. So it's weird, but you need to use all of your senses. You need to use your hands, feel for if there's any heat in the problem leg. You need to use your sense of smell. You need to look in the smell and see if you can't smell something sweet or rotten or thrush smelling, which is really hard to describe, but it's awful, so you'll figure it out. You need to use your touch for heat as well and swelling. Find out if there's any swelling. You need to, and that uses your eyes. You need to look and see if there's any jerky movements. There's a lot of different ways you look and see if there's a problem and then go from there. So from here, I'm going to just show you all some videos of horses that I'm lunging and their issues and pointing out, where they're lame. And yes, we know why they're lame. And yes, we're working on it. But these are just some of the problem horses that I have. And I hope this helps. If you want more in depth, we can always try to go more in depth or have somebody else talk because this is about all I know. About the shoeing, because we also got a request to do shoeing. I think that will have to be another video, because otherwise that would make this one entirely too long, in my opinion. And shoeing is a little bit of a controversial subject, so it'll be interesting to go into it. And yeah, so I look forward to seeing who does that one as well. And thanks, guys. Here come the videos. So this is Hollywood. She's lame in the front left. As you can tell, whenever the front left foot goes down, move on, her head goes up, trying to alleviate the pressure. So normally you do this at the trot, but because she's so lame, we're doing it at the walk, and she's fine. She just has an abscess. All right. So this is Buddy. If you notice, his head is not bobbing at all, which indicates his lameness is not going to be in the front end. The next thing you look at is tracking up, which I talked about. So look at his front feet and where his back feet are landing, and if they're landing evenly. And the last thing you look for is any kind of jerkiness within the leg. Now, his bad leg is not to the inside right now, so we're going to switch it and show you the bad side. Alright, so this is his bad side. If you look at his inside back leg, you can see it's a little bit more jerky. And if you could hear this, which I don't know if you can, it sounds a bit more choppy and a bit more irregular. So next we're going to look at him from straight behind and see if we can't tell a difference in his hip level. So trotting away, if you look, his right hip picks up higher than the left hip. So that means it's going to be in the right hind leg. Yeah, go ahead. It's hard to tell from the front, but you can still kind of see a little bit of unevenness. And thank you, Katie.